Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome again to another live this morning here. Hope you're having a great day. Good to be with you, and always great to have you on. So a few of you say hello to make sure you can hear me and see me. Today is blow the socks off day. You learn something every day in the healthcare field. If you don't, time to get out. Good morning, Regina and Diane and Sophie. Okay, let me just see if I missed somebody up there. Nativity, good morning to you. And Shelley and Marsha and Jeanette is on with us this morning. Good morning to you. Bernice, nice to have you on with us. From Cornwall, Louise and Joss from Sturgeon Falls. Wendy, waiting to have my socks blown off. Good for you, Wendy. Bonjour, Diane. And say hello to my buddy Jean. Lee, good morning to you. Lee, I'm trying to think. When I moved to Sudbury, were you not one of my first patients? You and Yolande, I think you were. Susan from Florida. Okay, let me just see here. Donna, and good morning, Denise and Jerry from Nouveau Brunswick and Claudette. And yeah, it's a wet morning here for sure. BC, Cynthia, 5:30 in the morning over there, okay? Rebecca from Callender and Esther from Miami. Good to have you on. Okay, let me just get going. Nellie and Nancy, happy to have our socks blown off today. Yeah, well, it's not too cold, so we can do that. Listen, good morning to you, Yolanda. And Joe, Duncan, BC. It's dark out here, I can imagine. And Elaine, good morning. Okay, let's get going. Study came out, let me just quote it properly here so that you get it right. In Nature Metabolism, and listen, this came out, was published on August the 20th, 2020. So, what's today? 27th? A week ago. And Nature Metabolism publication published this story. And it comes out of the University of California in San Diego, and it's on high fructose corn syrup. Now, one thing, and this is what the study is saying, but it's what I've said to you 1,000 times over the years. High fructose corn syrup sure sounds healthy, doesn't it? Fructose, corn, must be good. No. I've named it the Antichrist of sugars. It's the worst of the worst sugars. First of all, it's very far from nature. Okay? I could give you about 15 negative points on it. Very, very far from nature. It's actually made in a lab. It was created by man. Not good. Probably one of its worst things, it's very addictive. And so the big food industry, when they discovered this sugar, used the addictive qualities of the tobacco industry to hook people on sugar. So, like I tell my grandchildren, Grandpa had ice cream too when I was a kid, and cookies. But they weren't using high fructose corn syrup. But they are today. Any packaged good, go in the middle aisles of your grocery store. Well, even in some of the like if you go in the dairy section and go into yogurt, when they're using a sugar, they got 92 different names for it, but it's high fructose corn syrup. It's cheap, It's very sweet. It's very addictive. And as I was mentioning to you yesterday, fructose goes to the liver. Okay? And I've used this expression, a monopoly expression. You know what? You played Monopoly. Don't pass go, go directly to jail. Well, that's what fructose does. So we thought. So we thought. It does that. It goes, it's not metabolized in your gut. Your gut, you know why? Because your gut doesn't know what it is. Folks, when you consume margarine, okay? Now, go to your grocery store and look at margarine. They don't even call it that. Looks like butter, Becel, and they don't say the word margarine because they don't want people to think that it's bad for them. But do you know what? Your gut can't metabolize it. It doesn't. That's why it's so toxic. You got a wonderful gut that, if it's not good for you, usually your gut won't metabolize it. Same with high fructose corn syrup. Your gut doesn't even know what it is. It's not food. So your gut goes, don't come in here. So we thought. But here's what this study is saying. Now, I've always said this about high fructose corn syrup. Highly addictive, very sweet, does not get metabolized in your gut, made by man. It's not natural sugar at all. Goes to the liver, terrible for your liver. That's why we see so much fatty liver. That's why we see so much obesity. That's why we see so many people with, it's not beer bellies, it's sugar bellies, but it's high fructose corn syrup bellies. Go to the mall. Well, are they open yet? But you know what I mean. Like, just look, observe. People are so much bigger today. True or false? Well, of course it's true. Not for good. I don't mean bigger because they're bigger, they got more muscles. Because we got a lot more fat on our bodies. It's a big, big problem in our society today, high fructose corn syrup. But what this study is saying, it don't get metabolized in the gut, but it affects the gut. It's one of the biggest, this is what this study is saying. It's incredible. It's one of the biggest factors in leaky gut. Wow. Well, look, here's what I used to say. And it still does this, but on its way, when you consume high fructose corn syrup, one of the things it does in the gut as it goes over to the liver, it feeds yeast. I've always said that. And that is a contribution to leaky gut. Remember what I said? What is leaky gut? Got to just go over this so that you understand it. What is leaky gut? You have two armies in your gut. Good, bad. Okay? They live together. They look at each other. Remember I used that example of the story in, you want to read a good story? Read the story of David and Goliath. The Philistines were over here. The Israeli army is here, and they were looking at each other for months on end. Nobody did anything. They just, except this big guy from the Philistines, Goliath comes down every day and goes, hey, why do we want to have a war? You get your best guy, come and fight me, and whoever wins the war. It'll spare all the death. It's a tremendous story. And we all know the story. David comes with his slingshot and hits this guy right in the temple, and the guy goes down. He's done like dinner. Well, that's what happens inside your gut. Okay? Two armies, they're looking at each other. They're just there. And as long as you have enough good guys, keeps the bad guys over there. That's simplicity, but that's what it is. And then you have a third army. If you don't have enough good bacteria, you have a third invasion that takes place. And that is Candida or yeast. Big problem today. Now, let's get back to this study. The study is saying that fructose, high fructose corn syrup. So if you're having an apple, that's not the same. It's fructose, but it's not high fructose corn syrup. Okay? You're having a banana. Now, we talked about that. If you want to lose weight, don't eat that stuff. But high fructose corn syrup is a different puppy altogether. And when you consume it, if you have a soda, it's everything in from crackers to bagels to anything that is made in the food industry, in the middle aisles of your grocery store. Peanut butter, high fructose corn syrup, if it's not natural peanut butter. What's that do in your gut? Well, we know that on the way past, yeast likes it. It takes it, it makes them grow. We know that. That's well established. But what we didn't know, what it does, you have a lining in your gut. Okay? It's little wee cells. They're so thin. They're just thin, but they're protective. And that little endothelial lining of epithelial cells, they're just little wee skinny cells, but they're a barrier with your bacteria. See, where is the bacteria found? In your mucosa. So if you look inside your gut, you got mucus in there. Well, that's where all your bacteria is. It's called your mucosa. You have that here. You have it in your brain. You have a mucus. You know you have it in your sinuses. You've often seen what mucus looks like. Well, you have that in your gut, and that's all right. So that's where your bacteria is, but in behind that, you have a little single layer of cells, endothelial. They're the guys that is really your barrier between your gut and your blood. This is where high fructose corn syrup comes in. Yes, it's on its way to the liver, but it takes a little bypass to destroy that little lining, that little barrier between your gut and your bloodstream. You guys know this. Think about it for a minute. When you eat, how does your cells get nutrition? Well, first of all, your food is mulched down, okay? Your digestion starts right in your mouth. You have enzymes secreted there, and it gets to your stomach. We've talked about this. The problem in the world today, not enough acidity in the stomach. It's one of the biggest causes is because of insulin and not enough enzymes and not enough acidity. Well, that doesn't break your food down properly. But when your food is broken down, gets into the small intestine, and then whatever your body needs goes through that little barrier. It's so micro-sized, your food, that it goes through your blood, and in your blood, the life of the flesh is in your blood. Your blood brings you your life because there's nutrition in it. But what they're showing, and this is what leaky gut is. Leaky gut is when you have toxins, bacteria, viruses that get into your bloodstream when they were not meant to get in there. They were supposed to go to the toilet. Your body is unbelievable. It is the greatest machine. Unbelievable, right? The problem is when you have high fructose corn syrup, not only is it giving you fatty liver is one of the greatest problems in our society today. Non-alcoholic fatty liver. You know what's worse than alcohol? High fructose corn syrup. You know why? At least you know what alcohol is, right? I mean, you don't give a 5-year-old a beer, I hope. Or, oh, here, son, let's have a little shot of whiskey. You don't do that. But it's nothing for us to give kids a soda or ice cream. Oh, it's just a little treat. The world's changed, guys, because they changed the sugar. It's not sugar. It is the antichrist of sugars. That's fatty liver. I've talked about that a million times. How dangerous that is, because fatty liver is really what starts diabetes. It's what starts heart disease. Because of triglycerides. But guys, listen. Listen, Linda. It damages your gut. High fructose corn syrup destroys that little layer, the barrier. Not only does it feed yeast, but it destroys that barrier. We never knew that. I never knew that. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad. And by the way, you now know. Leaky gut is still not really, most in medicine still don't understand. They don't teach it in medical school. But leaky gut equals leaky skin. You want to know if you have leaky gut? Look at your skin. Do you have acne? Do you have psoriasis? Do you have eczema? Do you have dermatitis? Do you have anything on your skin that don't belong there? You got leaky gut. You have any autoimmune disorder like MS? I know they call Parkinson's neurological disorder, but it's an autoimmune. Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. It comes from the gut. Why do we see so much of it today? One of them is antibiotics. It destroys the good guys in your gut. But the other one is high fructose corn syrup. A triple whammo. Makes yeast proliferate. I was telling you a little while back about a fellow by the name of Dr. Simoninsi out of Italy, oncologist. Met him in the 1990s in the USA when I was promoting a book. He was talking about all cancers come from fungus, yeast, in the gut. All cancers, he said. He was an oncologist. He looks at cancer, and every time he gets a microscope out and does a biopsy, he sees yeast, fungus, candida. Isn't this incredible? Leaky gut, leaky skin. Leaky gut, leaky joints. Yeah, joints. Leaky gut, leaky sinuses. Do you have postnasal drip? A lot of leaky gut, allergies. Every allergy. Oh, doc, it's to the environment. I know, but it starts in your gut. You're taking an antihistamine, but that's not fixing the problem. That's a Band-Aid. The problem is in the gut. It's leaky gut. Every allergy. You see a kid that can't take dairy? Well, where does that come from? The gut. What did Hippocrates, the father of medicine, say? All disease, 2,000 years ago, all disease starts in the gut. Man, that dude was pretty smart. He was a lot smarter than modern medicine today, who never seem to look at the gut. They can't see it. Leaky gut is submicroscopic. They can't see it, can't see it. Like you can't have a colonoscopy and see leaky gut. A colonoscopy doesn't show you candida in your gut. It's within the mucus. Looks normal. They're only, you know what they're looking for? Inflammation that they can see. Diverticulosis, little pouches. Crohn's. Cancer. And that's all right. But it doesn't see the invisible, really. That little lining. And then stuff gets into your bloodstream that doesn't belong there. If you have leaky gut, you're going to get inflammation. Why? Because the body's smart. Your body says, there's a bacteria in there. Now I must start a low-grade fever. Yeah, but the problem is, if that doesn't go away, inflammation starts destroying blood vessels and joints and skin and sinuses and the brain and the lungs. That's what happens. Why do you think at the Martin Clinic we have been preaching probiotics way before probiotics were ever popular? Some people have been my patients for 40 years or so. Always talked about probiotics. Good bacteria. You wanted good guys. That's what regenerates that gut. You better build that army up. Isn't that fascinating? Does that not blow your socks off? You now know more than 99%. And God love physicians. I love them. But now you know more than 99% of every physician you've ever met. They just don't teach this in medical school. They just don't. I'm sorry. You got to get out of school. I learned, look, I'm always thankful for my education, but I learned a lot more on my own. But you better be open to study. Right? You have to, and I'm preaching to the choir this morning. I know you're on with me because you're interested in your body. You're interested in your own health. And guys, listen. This is up to you. I'm giving education or information so you make choices in life. So who should be on a probiotic? Everyone. And your dog. Everyone. No exceptions. I can't think of any. It's incredible. Leaky gut. One of the biggest factors, and you know me, I've talked about this, about antibiotics. And listen, don't get me wrong. Don't misquote me. Antibiotics can save your life. The next pandemic coming, in my opinion, is something like tuberculosis, which kills, by the way, last year in 2019, tuberculosis killed more people than COVID did worldwide. Did you know that? A lot more. Well, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about that. And tuberculosis is making a huge comeback because it's getting resistant to antibiotics. That's the problem with antibiotics. And I think I mentioned this the other day, that pharmaceutical companies, they don't want to invest in antibiotics. It costs them about $1 billion to bring a new antibiotic on stream, and there's no money in it. They can't charge enough to get their money back. And these are, look, they're huge companies. But at the end of the day, they got to make money. You can understand that. They got to be profitable. So they're not really looking for new antibiotics because there's no money in it. It takes them years to develop it. And it's hard to get approved by the FDA. Isn't it amazing, this vaccine? It's going through like it's, woo! It's going to be pushed through. And there'll be no liability to the pharmaceutical companies that are making it. You can't sue them. You won't be able to sue them. The government already agreed to that. So what happens? Of course they're doing it. And it's not either I'm pro or negative vaccines. I'm not even saying that. I'm just telling you what's happening in the world of health. But the best thing they could do, medicine, the best thing they could do, more than anything else, is get everybody on probiotics, friendly bacteria. Now, don't hold your breath. Because medicine is still today is very much controlled, even more than ever, by the pharmaceutical industry. And the pharmaceutical industry can't patent probiotics. They're not going to be able to patent them. You can't patent them. There's no money in it for them. You got to follow the money. So, if you do nothing else, cut the stinking sugar out of your diet. Sugar is poison. High fructose corn syrup is the worst of all poisons. And now we know what it does. We always knew what it did to the liver. Man, oh man, is it damaging to the liver. And your body doesn't work properly without your liver. And by the way, ladies, if you have fatty liver, you know what? Your thyroid won't even work properly. Because your conversion from T4 to T3. T3 is what your thyroid needs to work with for it to function at its highest level. But if you got fatty liver, even your thyroid not going to get what it needs. Pretty serious stuff. So what's the headline? Dr. Martin says, get rid of high fructose corn syrup. Anything with sugar in it today. Don't let anybody fool you. Oh, Dr. Martin, it says cane sugar. Yeah, nah, it don't matter. Believe me, it's high fructose corn syrup. Masqueraded. Right? We talked about it in Mexico. The health czar there went after Coca-Cola. God bless them. 3/4 of the population in Mexico are obese. You know what that spells? That spells disaster for their population. All the tea in China is not going to be able to pay for what high fructose corn syrup is doing to our health. They missed the big picture, guys. I give that czar in Mexico credit unbelievable. He's not the only one that said it, but he's the only politician, as far as I know, or someone in the government that has taken on a big food company because he was saying in behind COVID, the elephant in the room is metabolic syndrome, which is caused by high fructose corn syrup and crappy carbohydrates that turn to sugar in 5 seconds. Interesting, isn't it? And the headline is, cut it out of your diet. Nada. Don't have any. That's why the reset is so good, guys. I tell you, there's a reason for my madness. That's why it's so good for you. Because you're not going to have any of that. No high fructose corn syrup at all. Your body in a month, 30 days, will be giving you high fives. You've cleaned it out. You've emptied your liver. You've started the repair of your gut, that little wee lining. Amazing how your body regenerates. You're not feeding the bears, the yeast. Okay, enough preaching for today. Tomorrow, question and answer. Send in your questions. We'll take care of them tomorrow. If you have any friends or whatever that are not part of our Martin Clinic Facebook group, I have to do this advertising. Get them as part of our private Facebook group. Invite them to come in. They'll get the notice of this program and different recipes and all the things that our staff puts on and the interaction between those in the group. A lot of times, I see the questions, they're coming in, and then a lot of times I won't answer. I mean, Brandy and Jeanette, Nicole, they're tremendous for that. But I don't have to answer because you guys answered the question. I go down, I open it up, and there it is. Yeah, somebody's discouraged and you're pumping their tires. I appreciate it. You guys are smart. We have a very intelligent audience. I mean that. Okay, so tomorrow, question and answer, Friday. If you have any questions, send them on. Share this. This is an important story, guys. It's an important story. It's tremendously important. So, share it. Okay. Love you guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Lord willing. Have a great day.